Girl, it's time for another episode of GURL Talk with myself, Thought Stew, and tonight I am joined by the lovely Jim Buddy Glenn. How are you doing, my love?
I'm very, very well, thank you. Yeah, all good. I'm quite glad it's now getting to brighter blue skies over here, but I wish the rain would just clear off because it brings down my mood and I've got washing to do.
To be fair, you're dressed literally like a sunshine today, so you're trying.
Oh, if I bend over, you'll see the sun.
Oh God, nobody needs that this afternoon. Keep that firmly tucked away, please. In other news, we have a wonderful special guest that isn't Glenn's booty hole. But tonight we'll be chatting to the wonderful Brian Falduto. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
Not too bad. A little bit scared that Glenn might expose himself, but thankfully we're only recording audio, so nobody else would have to see it. So good this evening. How's life been sort of recently? Let's go with this year so far. We're enough into it now.
Yeah, it's going okay. I just moved, so I'm enjoying a new apartment in New York City. The weather is also starting to clear up here little by little, but not today. It's pretty rainy. This is my first winter staying put in a while. I usually do the snowbird thing, so I'm emerging from many months of hibernating. And yeah, it was tough, but I made it through.
Well done. And now hopefully it'll be on to, nicer things, nicer, warmer things, preferably. And you're in New York. I mean,
Yeah.
good place to be.
Yes, Brooklyn. Yeah, have you been?
No, but it's somewhere that's definitely on my list. I don't know, we might have to fancy a trip there, Glenn?
Oh, 100%. I think we just need to do like a whole west of the globe tour. Like we could go and see people we've interviewed in America, then maybe go up to Canada, see them, and then we can fly back.
Sounds good to me. I mean, I might not come back, if I'm honest, but one of us might return.
Fine.
It won't be me.
That's fine. But do you mind paying for it, Stu? Just because times are hard.
We'll pass that one on. We might need to find a sugar daddy. Anyway, the focus is not us. The focus should be on Brian. So, for those who may not know you yet, could you give us a little quick one-liner just to draw people in?
Yes, I am a gay country music artist. I feel like that pretty much summarizes it. I take the sounds I grew up on and I try and insert myself in those narratives a little bit. 80s, 90s, 2000s country music and country music I didn't see myself in back then, and I try and tell it from a queer perspective.
I think that sums it up quite nicely. Obviously have already tagged onto it, but if I hadn't, I would be in. Count me in.
Amazing. We got one.
Recently, you covered Dolly Parton's Why'd You Come In Here Looking Like That? What was it about that particular song that inspired you to do your own version?
Yeah, well, I love covering songs in general. I always try and throw cover songs into my set list. I think it's a great way to put something familiar in there that the crowd can relate to, but it also shows your influences. I'm an extremely indecisive person, so deciding on a song to cover was quite the feat. But I narrowed it down to a few, and then I ended up going with this song mainly because of Dolly's legacy. I just think she's so cool, the way she's handled herself for so long. I mean, how many decades of hits does she have? And she's saved the world from COVID, essentially, and she's rescues bald eagles, and she's just very cool. And I was like, I'm gonna pay tribute to her. She's also been super supportive of the queer community throughout her career, so I really appreciate that. And yeah, it also came down to I had a fun production idea for this song. Basically, what we've done, I don't know if you're into country music very much, but we've taken Cam's song Diane, and we kind of took the framework of that production-wise and applied it to Dolly's song, and it made for a nice modernized version of the Dolly song. So it was also just a combination of her legacy and what I thought was a good idea.
It's a good way to bring it sort of into a it's not a particularly old song anyway, but just modernizing it a little bit and then adding that extra flair to it, really, which is what music's all about. Keep bringing it into the future, but referencing those icons of the past and still present, because like you said, she's never gone away. She never will, thankfully.
Yeah, as a community, I think people often can tend to like sway straight to Cher, and it's like, actually, Dolly's like got a little bit more of an edge on Cher. Like she's got a whole world.
She does. She has Dolly World, and also like I just always come back to the fact that she like funded the vaccine that like saved us all. So it's like, at the end of the day, she's literally an American hero, a world hero.
You obviously, with you having recently put out the video for that as well, you were literally in the last week or so able to promote that alongside Ms. Cracker, who is also an absolute legend. How did that come around, and what was it like?
Apparently, she just reached out to my team and she like wanted to support the song, which was amazing, and I was really flattered. And it's great. She performs at Industry Bar in New York City every Monday night, apparently. And she invited me to come celebrate my music video with her. It was awesome because sometimes with these releases, I'm an independent artist. And so sometimes I'm just sitting at home drinking a glass of wine, celebrating my releases. So it was cool to have like a fun way to ring it in. And she was super cool about it. And yeah, the video dropped Tuesday. I highly recommend people go check it out. It's on my YouTube.
This video does actually also give a nod to the world of modern dating, particularly the modern method of apps. Was this from personal experience?
Yes. And from the comments on the YouTube video, I can tell it's relatable. But yeah, basically, it's a commentary on just the world of dating, maybe even the world of queer dating. It can be a mess out on those apps. And so basically the concept of the video is I'm swiping on the app and I come across all these profiles that are just, I very easily have decided to swipe left because it feels like it's slim pickings. And then I come across an old flame whose profile is very alluring, but he's also a player. And so I fantasize about, both being with him and telling him off at the same time, and that's kind of the thing. But yeah, it's basically it's taking the title of the song, "Why'd You Come In Here Looking Like That," and applying it to all the way people are showing up on dating apps, which is again modernized, fun, simple, relatable.
Definitely relatable. I think that's probably why you're getting so many comments. I think we've all been there. We've all had that same fantasy of, do we want to tell them off, or do we want to let them in, or do we want to go in the middle? It's a tough life on the good old dating apps. So obviously that's big, sort of Dolly inspired, and you've mentioned as well you do a lot of sort of Cher covers. What other sort of artists have had that impact on you and your passion for music?
Yeah, so it's a lot of 90s, 2000s artists that influence my current sound. So anywhere from like Rascal Flatts to Shania Twain to Faith Hill. A lot of females influence my music. I feel like I didn't own that for a long time because I mostly identify as a male, and so like I kind of was like my influences have to be male because that's just like the world I grew up in. But then I was like, fuck that. I'm very influenced by female country artists. I feel like they've paved the way for a lot of the changes that have happened in country music over the years, and they really influence my sound and my style. And so yeah, that's. I feel like I got a little off track here, but those are the artists that I'm very influenced by. It's not necessarily what I'm listening to these days. Like I'm not like constantly listening to like 90s country on repeat. I'm listening to a lot of what's out there now and a real mixed bag, but that's what influenced what I'm putting out anyway. I think in the future it will be a bunch of different styles within the country genre that I'm tackling with my music. But that's just where I'm living right now.
I mean, that's just adapting, isn't it? You've got to, go with the flow, feel how you feel. All artists have what is commonly referred to as eras, I guess, now, especially with Taylor Swift. But, you've got to go through, develop your style, stay true to yourself. But, everyone's going to go through the motions. And you've got so many artists that you want to reference that you've been able to enjoy yourself. Why not throw them into the mix? It's a good little idea.
Totally. And I might be jumping ahead here on your questions. I don't know, but I am releasing a deluxe version of my album that I put out last year. And the whole goal of the deluxe version is to kind of hint at where I'm going musically, because that initial project was very solidly, pure 90s country. Like it sounds like once you put it on, you're like, oh, I've heard this before, but the tracks that I'm adding are still very country, still very, early country, but they're just a little more modernized. They have little folk elements in them. They're just kind of hinting that I have more to me than like what I put on that album, and kind of hopefully bringing people into where I'm headed, essentially.
It sounds good to me. It's like a little sort of flash forward to the future, but rejigging what's already there. And you can promote as much as you want on this podcast. That's what it's here for. It's throw out as many, whether you're jumping ahead or not, does not matter. We're all about the promotion. If you can't promote yourself, how are you going to promote someone else? Is a misquote from RuPaul, I believe.
I love that.
So, not to put you on the spot, but could you sing us a line or two from another of your favorite songs?
My original songs, or just like a favorite song of mine?
Your choice.
Oh, gosh, I told you I'm an indecisive person. How dare you leave it up to
Do you
me?
both?
A liner. Oh, you are putting me on the spot. I haven't warmed up or anything. All right, here we go. This is the chorus of like probably my most popular song. You've heard this song 1,000 times, but this time it's about two guys drinking beer on the back of a pickup by the lake. You shouldn't come as a surprise. It won't ruin any lives. It's the same old country love song, but it's gay. And I also lowered the key on that for myself just now because I was like, it's too early in the day and I haven't warmed up. But what else? And then a cover. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough. No. Now it's your turn.
Yeah, Glenn, now it's your turn.
Oh.
I think it's only fair.
Yeah, this is when I have a massive brain fart and then just can't think of a song.
I'd be very impressed if you actually do blast out some vocals, especially to that level. Considering there was no warm up there and it was unexpected, I mean, I wouldn't say you did bad in the slightest. Quite like the country share, actually. It's good. I like that.
I'm gonna throw out some artist names, and you first song that comes to mind. You sing it. Ready? Beyonce.
All the single ladies, all the single ladies,
Hey.
all the single ladies. Now put your hands up. Oh.
Woo! Love it.
Guys,
Yeah.
See, I'm really glad that you went for your song. Obviously, you did Same Country Love Song. That's one that I want to ask you about because there is that line of "It shouldn't come as a surprise. It won't ruin any lives." That kind of hit home to me because the first time you listen to it, you're like, that should really be the way that the world is looking at everything. Like when you wrote that, do you think that's something that the world can gradually adapt to, realistically?
Yeah. I mean, it just that song was kind of interesting to write because I was like, it was such a simple concept. I was like, I literally just want to take the song everyone's heard 1,000 times and I want to make it gay. But I was like, how do we do that in a way that's like crafty, right, and speaks to people? So, yeah, I mean, I think that line kind of speaks for itself. It shouldn't come as a surprise, but it's crazy that it kind of does, right? Like it's the whole success of that song is based on the fact that it's a surprise and it shouldn't be a surprise. So it's like a little bit of a catch-22 there,
Clever though, because you kind of just made it obvious. Like this is exactly what I'm saying, but it's just now in a song. So here you go, have it. I like it. I really enjoyed it. Like that's. I mean, it's a good song anyway, but that is the standout thing that I found about it because it is very relatable in a different way to the video for obviously the Dolly cover, but it reels us in. It reels in the community.
I think it's quite nice as well. I have a country queer song that's not like your stereotypical gay, vulgar, and rude like that. Is it
Dixon Dallas?
Dallas, yeah, Dixon Dallas. Like his songs are hilarious, but I think in terms of bringing the gay community into country music, it just doesn't do it. While your music obviously does because it's kind of stirring a lot, like kind of it just marries them together nicely.
I love what Dixon Dallas is doing. I think it's cool. Yeah. It is a little different than what I'm doing too. I just genuinely wanted to take like, the authentic country sounds I grew up on, right? And then just like tell them from my perspective. And I think country music at its heart is authentic storytelling. And so I'm trying to just do that from a story angle. And not all of my songs are like these tongue in cheek, like gay songs, right? They're also just like country storytelling songs. Like I have a song on my album called When You're Home, Don't Feel Like Home, which a lot of country songs are about how great your hometown is or how much you love home. And sometimes when you're queer, that's not your experience. So basically, I just wanted to take that sentiment, but tell the queer story, which is that sometimes your home doesn't feel like your home. And it's in those ways that I'm kind of making country music queer in that we can just find ourselves in it,
Yeah, totally. Actually, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because could you tell us a little bit more about growing up as a queer person within the country music scene and growing up around that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on country. I was always that kid in high school who was listening to like something a little different than everyone else. Like I was driving out of the parking lot senior year of high school on like warm days with my windows down, blasting like Zach Brown band, and everyone else was blasting like other whatever was trending at the time. I'm not sure, but I was more in the country lane. And then I think my big country love came when Carrie Underwood won American Idol, because I was a huge Idol fan, and then she won, and then I started watching her on all the award shows, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this artist, and I kind of just, that's when I really fell into the genre, but I was into it from the start. My first album was Faith Hill. And then kind of by a fluke incident, an internship that I had senior year of college turned into a job at a radio station, which turned into a job at the sister radio station, which ended up being a country music radio station. And so I was just kind of surrounded by country music for my first 4 years out of college, because I was working in country music radio. And that was my early 20s, and that's when you go through a lot of like developmental stuff as an adult. And I was surrounded by country music at the time, so I feel like country music was just really speaking to me. So much so that I eventually tried to write my own country song. But yeah, it was weird. Like even when I was working at the country music radio station, I would go to concerts that I had organized because that was like my job at the radio station. And, I'd show up in my like short shorts and my Nash FM tank top, and I'd be like, I am the only one that is like me here. It was a lot of just a different demographic of people listening to country music. But what's been so cool about my project is putting out queer country music and discovering, hey, I'm not the only gay out there who loves country music. There's actually a lot of us, and we just didn't have a lane for it.
I think it's good though that you've gone through that journey of discovery. Like you said, that when you're in your early 20s, that is mainly when you sort of reach this odd peak of, right, I'm done with being that kind of young. I'm going to start developing my adult traits. I'm going to go out and explore, see who I am, that kind of thing. And you got a great opportunity there, by the sounds of it, by having that radio station that was your interests, combined together with, obviously, you've had experience of organizing gigs, so now you know exactly what you're doing for yourself, realistically, or at least that would be the theme. I mean, let's be honest, when you're doing something for someone else versus yourself, it's two very different sort of thresholds, isn't it? Obviously, though, we've discussed your musical talents quite a lot. You've also had a bit of dabbling in acting, most notably, everyone should remember you as the sassy young Billy in School of Rock. Did you sort of study for that, like any performance arts or anything like that, or is it just sort of a natural flair from being, a young queer kid?
Well, I mean, according to my baby book, I've been singing since I was 2, but like I started taking voice lessons when I was 9, and then School of Rock came around 10 or 11. I did have to audition with a song for School of Rock. I just didn't end up singing in the film. It's fine. I'm not bitter about it or anything, but I just ended up having the speaking role. I was performing professionally like a lot. I was doing like theater stuff before School of Rock. But School of Rock was my first ever film audition, and I booked it. And then I had a really misconstrued understanding of what it takes to be an actor. I was like, oh, this is easy. I don't know what everyone's complaining about. And then, of course, there's a lot of highs and lows in that career. But yeah, I had a great time in School of Rock. And yeah, I was prepared, but not quite. I think a lot of my preparation just came on set. I learned as I went.
I mean, it's a great first gig to book, though. Good way to get some experience.
Oh yeah, are you kidding? Yeah, it's like a cult classic. I feel like I'm very fortunate that I have that as like a calling card. I feel like
definitely an iconic character. 1000%, like one of my favorite characters. Relatable
Thanks.
as well.
I appreciate that. I didn't know that at the time, right? I felt very like once the film came out, I got like I was this kind of like mostly effeminate, queer, sassy kid on screen, and so I got bullied a lot for that. And then several years later, like 15 years later, I learned, oh, people actually really enjoyed my character. But I didn't get a lot of that messaging when I was younger. It was more just like that people were like, I felt very othered by the response to the film back then, because I feel like the gay people who resonated with me weren't out either, because it was 2003, right? So like no one was being like, hey, thanks so much for doing that. I really saw myself in you. It was a different time.
No, yeah, definitely. It was just, like I said, yeah, like it's weird to think like 2003, grown up gay is so different to 2024. Like just the turnaround, and like I think kids now are a little bit more open and accepting, but I think just that's mainly through education. Could be wrong, but it just comes across that way. But yeah, like I said, it was really memorable character, really relatable, so I did appreciate it.
Obviously, you've had the dabbling in the acting world and you've had the dabbling in the music world. Are you wanting to still continue with the blend of the two of them moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, I had a great time acting in my music video, for example. I was a bit self-directed. I still go to acting class pretty regularly. It's a great outlet for me. I get a lot of personal development and growth from it. I'm not really actively pursuing acting. I find that I get a little more burnt out with that than I do with music. With the way music is formatted these days, there's so many things you can do on your own to propel your career forward. You can like write music, you can set up gigs for yourself, you can jam with people, you can release music on your own because of all the streaming platforms. Sure, with acting, you could like write your own scripts, but I don't really have interest in doing that. And a lot of acting opportunities involve me spending 3 to 4 hours a day doing a self-tape these days because everything's digital that I send off that I never hear back from, except for when I get a call back, right? But then that's even more time. And there's just not as much return on the effort. When people approach me with stuff, I'm always like, yeah, I'll audition for that, or I'll come read for that, or whatever it is. But I'm just not like actively pursuing it because music takes up a lot of time, and I'm just having a lot of fun doing that at the moment. And that's just kind of where it is. Back in the day, I got cast in stuff because I think I was like charming and talented and personable in the room. And now that everything's digital, I just don't have as much fun pursuing it. It's not as fun. I don't know if you guys have ever recorded a self-tape, but it's not a fun process. You have to like spend 4 hours at home trying to make yourself look good on camera. Sometimes even like get someone to come read with you. It's like very difficult.
Me and my friend once tried doing a recording for a show. I don't know if there's a similar show in the US, but it's a show in the UK called Hunted. And essentially, you go in this van with a group of people, and they drop you off somewhere in the UK, and then they've got these like trained police people who are meant to try and hunt you down, and you're meant to avoid them until you have to access this login to find where the rendezvous point is, and then you have to get to the rendezvous point, but it goes like across the entire country, so you could end up like hiding in Wales and then have to try and hitchhike to Scotland. But yeah. So then there was like us trying to like hide in the park and look like we could hide really well.
That sounds hilarious.
I need that video to make the light of day.
I might have to try. I'll try and dig it out for you. It's quite funny.
Yeah, I want to put it online.
So, following on from playing iconic characters, writing amazing songs that bring the world of country and queer together so nicely, have you got any advice that you would offer to a young queer artist?
Yeah. I mean, this is super cliche, but like just be yourself, which I feel like can't be said enough because no one told me that when I was younger, and I was just myself in School of Rock, right? And then I didn't know that was enough, and so then I spent 15 years like trying to like be somebody different, and now I'm just trying to get back to myself. And so I would just tell people to really be yourself. And if you don't feel like being yourself is okay at this time will eventually come back around, and you will feel like you being your authentic self will always pay off. It always comes back to that. Even if it's not cool right now, it will be cool eventually. Just be yourself. People will follow. Yeah, I just wish I had that message. Also, just as an artist, you are the only you that's ever existed. So you really need to tell art from your perspective, and that's the only way that we're going to be interested in it. If you try and like create something that's not authentically you, it's not going to be truthful, and we're not going to be quite as invested. And so that's also something I try and always come back to, especially with like social media these days. It's so easy to get so caught up in whether people are listening or what my numbers are, all that kind of stuff. And I just always come back to, am I doing something that feels honest for myself? And that's all I can do.
No, it's really lovely, that. I like that.
I think
No, it is true. Always be yourself.
Yeah, you don't want to lose yourself just for the sake of, getting that fame or that attention, You've always got that tenet when you've become famous as yourself, you watch people lose themselves, later on just to stay famous sometimes. But I think if you've got the passion for it and you are being who you want to be, enjoy yourself. If people see you enjoying yourself doing what you do best, they'll enjoy it too. And that's kind of a good knock-on effect.
Like even like kinky sexual interests of mine that I had when I was younger, that I was like, this is so weird and you should be so like ashamed of this. I'm now an adult and I'm seeing these things like become mainstream and popular and everyone's like talking about them, and I'm like, hey, I was into that first, you know what I mean? And it's like you just gotta wait with time eventually, and your thing will be cool eventually. Just like try to like own what you have, like what's yours. And that's what lesson I wish I had when I was younger. And no, I will not tell you what that weird sexual kinky interest is.
We'll just call it your hipster kink for now.
Thank you.
No, that's true though. Like if you own something early and just continue being yourself early enough, you're actually cutting edge and ahead of everybody and doing really well. Like I was thinking loads of times growing up with when like people like stop trying, like, when you try to change myself to blend in and stuff, and people are like, you're not even that funny, God. And now I'm like, I am hilarious now. Like those jokes back then killed today. So I was just ahead of the crowd.
There you go.
Some people just aren't ready for it, are they? They don't want to know how camp you are. They don't want to know the kind of jokes you want to make. They don't want to know what your hipster kink is. And then you find that 3 or 4 years down the line, they're the ones to post about. You're like, oh, but you mocked me for that. Excuse me, sir. I've seen you in that specific type of club. You're enjoying it more than I am now. I'm bored of it. That was my thing 6 years ago. I've moved on. I found something better. Do you want me to teach you about that now? Like, come on. So on an equally serious note, it is time for a little segment that I like to call One for the Dads. Girl. I'm sure, Brian, you will guess the reason that I asked you to prepare a dad joke is for this section. There is not much point to it. It's just for a bit of a giggle, and most people like a dad joke at some point. So yeah, there's no prize for the best dad joke. Maybe I will give you I'll give you a nice thumbs up or a clap or something. Not the clap though. But again, we're not exploring the hipster kink on this podcast. So we'll take it in turns. I'm going to vote that Brian goes first as the guest. What is your dad joke?
Okay. So I can't take credit for this because I had to pull my Instagram followers for dad joke ideas because I was like, I don't know. But you told me to come armed with a dad joke. So I have written dad joke on my arm, which I feel like is kind of brilliant.
It is the commitment alone gets points. I enjoy that. I would never have thought to do it, which means I'm impressed by it. Okay, come on, Glenn. Can you top that? Be the first time you've topped something in your life.
Well, I got dad joke tattooed on my arm. I'm joking. So I did go to the effort to theme my dad joke in the theme of cowboys and countrysideness.
Ooh.
So, a cowboy thought he had 100 cows, but when he counted them, there were only 97. So he rounded them up.
Oh no!
It's a thinger.
I love that.
Yeah, that it definitely gets points for hitting the theme. Mine's not cowboy themed, so you've outdone me on that one. Well, I guess it's time for mine. So every single morning, I keep getting hit by the same bike. Some would say it's a vicious cycle.
These are good. What happens if you ever run out?
I'll never run out. I found this really, really good Instagram page. So I will not claim that any of these are my own, by the way. I've just found a really good page of them, and they post like 3 or 4 of them every day. So it's like a fountain of youth, but for dad jokes. Thus ends the end of the one for the dad section. It's the most pointless thing we've ever done on the podcast, but I enjoy it because I love a dad joke. So over to you, Glenn.
Before we go, is there anything you would like to promote?
Oh gosh, no, I feel like I promoted plenty. Everyone just go check out the album. It's called Gay Country. There's a deluxe version dropping in June. Easiest place to find me is on Instagram, which is just my name, Brian Falduto. And that's pretty much it. Appreciate you guys for having me.
Stuart, anything to promote?
I think this will be out in time to either promote the fact that we're going to be at Totally Drag and doing some press stuff, or if this does get slightly delayed and it's promoted afterwards, we will have put that stuff online. So we will have some lovely interviews with a load of great drag artists. And then obviously we will have a couple more episodes of GURL Talk. Then we will go back into a 5th season of our main GURL podcast. And also, I suppose you can follow the Velvet Snatch on Instagram. She's doing things. She'll be raising some money for charity. She's in the final of some drag competition. You know, we don't want to promote her too much, but you know, I suppose you can go and follow our co-host. Will be nice.
I was going to say the main thing is pop over to our YouTube channel where there will be Totally Drag videos eventually, and also interviews from Mr. Gay England and the MX Drag competition. So yeah, don't forget to go and do that. Where me and Stu will be having lots of days out in the wonderful world of Anik, because Velvet's in the actual competition, so she can't really help host and interview, even though she said she would try. Absolutely not, girl.
No, she needs to take that time to focus on the competition so that she can try and win the fucker.
Yeah.
Not that it's all about winning, but it would be nice to have a crown at Girl Global. So we'll see. Because Lord knows I'm not winning anytime soon.
I was going to say taking part is important and fun, but winning is so much better.
Okay, so without further ado, then remember,
You're Jackie and we hate you.
Oh, girl.